Hello, this is Adrian from my channel Random Drop. Happy Sunday. Again, trying to do one video a week at least. And yeah, I've been playing Enhancement Shaman again. For those of you who don't know, which would be everyone, my main was Enhancement Shaman since Classic. I've been playing that class for a very long time. As many people know, Enhancement Shaman has gotten the shaft many a time. And it's usually at the bottom, or just not that great, or middle of the road. There was a couple expansions I believe where it was like really good, but I really didn't play during those times, so I missed that boat, I guess. And yeah, I wanted to come back to something familiar, something I've played before, and something, you know, I like the magic melee caster archetype, but kind of playing this game and leveling so far, I'm not having a good time. It feels like my class is missing something. It feels so fucking slow. It does not feel as smooth as it did in Legion. By the way, the leveling's super weird because of how they smushed all this together. It feels like it wasn't really designed for you to have a good experience, more for you just to kind of like get through it and have something to look forward to every couple levels as you level. And the one thing with Enhancement Shaman is you don't get an AoE ability until like level 30 fucking 5. So it's really shitty doing dungeons and not having any AoE for the longest time for what, 60-70% of the leveling process, while your other friends are just nuking shit. You feel fucking useless, man. It is one of the worst feelings I've had playing this game, man. I just could not believe how just incomplete I felt, right? And it's more of the fact that you're doing these dungeons that were designed for fully complete classes, or mostly complete classes, but you're going in there with your level 15 shaman who's missing most of his abilities, so he doesn't really have much, and you're just kind of hitting 3. You know, my button is 3 for like my melee attack or whatever, and just spamming it over and over and over again. And it was mind-numbingly boring. And yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to talk about, and just like how the leveling in these two games is so designed so differently. So far, like I said, Enhancement Shaman, I've been leveling, doing my dungeons, my quests, and just kind of going through it with the flow, right? But it very much feels like I am missing something, especially because I knew what I used to have. And now it being gone and seeing a lot of these abilities moved and changed, and knowing that there's an expansion with a bunch of borrowed powered systems coming up. So I feel like I am missing a lot of stuff, like pieces of my class are just fucking gone. And I'm not going to feel complete until I play fucking Shadowlands or something. Because yeah, it just does not feel good to play. I'm almost max level, and it feels like Wind Fury has no kick to it. All my damage is in like storm strikes and lava lashes, but when I'm doing damage in dungeons, it doesn't feel like I'm hitting hard. And I don't know if it's just because of the scaling or what, but just something about going through this game and leveling through the dungeons and doing these different classes, it feels like when I'm hitting buttons, it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything to these mobs. Maybe if I had a DPS meter out or something, maybe I would feel much better about it. But like, I feel fucking like I feel so gimp all the goddamn time, and I don't know if it's just the classes I'm playing or what, because I'm barely fucking doing anything. And these numbers are like when I hit a boss, his health doesn't fucking move or something when I hit him with a big attack, and I can't tell if it's like me or not, right? And yeah, it's just been a weird experience, but I am getting through it because I want to see Shadowlands and see what the fuck all that's about, and hopefully that will improve. But I definitely wanted to talk about just the leveling in general in between these games, right? 14 very much has this static, hey, go through the main story quest. Everyone is going through the same path, unless you skipped, of course, but don't fucking do that. But everyone's going through the same story path, seeing all the same dungeons, all the same boss fights, all the same trial fights, all the same single player, you know, personal fights and all that. So you know when a player hits max level, they've experienced certain things, right? They've fought Nidhogg, so they know what an Offborn with a stack is. They've fought multiple bosses with knockback AoEs like Titan or some shit like that. They've fought bosses with, you know, split mechanics or something like that, with add mechanics, enrage timers, right? you know they've gone through that shit. Compared to something like World of Warcraft, where when you're leveling in that game, like, think about the leveling now, right? You're just picking an expansion and leveling through it. But that player will, like, what are they gonna fucking experience? These really, like, simple quests that really don't teach them much about the game, right? When you start a new character, you start off on this island and they try to teach you basic shit, but really after that, it's once you're out of there, that's it. Like, they don't teach you anything, right? So you're gonna get these new players who come into these dungeons that were designed for max characters, and they still have their fucking mechanics, and they're gonna get there and get just fucking wrecked, man. They're gonna stand in shit, they're gonna not stack or whatever, they're gonna get destroyed because the game doesn't teach you anything. It is, the leveling there is very much designed not to have a journey or an experience. I would say the leveling isn't designed at all. It is just there to make you go from 1 to 50 as fast as fucking humanly possible. And once you get there, then you get to the new expansion and level that way, right? And just keep on leveling. And that's why I guess like things like Raid Finder are so popular in World of Warcraft compared to regular raiding, because the game doesn't really teach you anything, right? Imagine doing the Lightning Lord with a bunch of World of Warcraft players. The Lightning Lord and the Evilist Reeds in 14. That has so many fucking mechanics. It has swap mechanics, move in and move out mechanics with no tells, right? You just have to like look at the cast bar and fucking see it. Has enrage timers on the 3 boss, the 3 adds to the fight, right? So you have to like do good damage, or at least like halfway decent damage. Like, World of Warcraft players would never be able to handle that shit because their player base is not taught any of that, right? Meanwhile, like 14, people went through that shit, and some of it's gotten easier over time, but people went through Ravana when it first came out and died to those fucking enrage mechanics, and then finally, you know, they defeat that boss and move on. Everyone fought Nidhogg with Ockborn stacks, dude. Like, everyone's done all these boss fights and dungeons, and you know they've done them because they're required. So when a player gets to an Evilist raid or later content in the game, fucking Bosja, right? Because there's so many mechanics just in Bosja. You know they've seen this shit before. They've seen some of it before, and doesn't mean the player learned how to like actually clear it, but something in their brains is being like, hey, I've seen this before. I know how the stack mechanic works. And the visual language in 14 helps out with that a lot. Every mechanic has kind of its own marker. Before, when they first started, they didn't. There's multiple stack markers and split markers, right? But now they've kind of learned to be like, hey, what if we just use the same icons for the same mechanics? So this is how a stack mechanic works. This is how a look away mechanic works. This is a don't stand in this shit mechanic works. This is a epicenter does more damage mechanic works. And players have experienced that before. Meanwhile, in World of Warcraft, they get to max level and haven't seen shit. Like, they haven't seen a fucking thing. They can barely press their buttons, right? They've leveled so quickly through this process that they don't know any better. Like, they wouldn't know anything, right? And there's nothing to teach them there. No like normal modes or anything like that. And that's what leads to like them going to Raid Finder, and me have past experiences doing Raid Finder where people can't walk through a fucking door in order and everyone wipes to it or something like that, right? Or these Raid Finder fights barely have a mechanic or two, right? And it's really crazy to see. 24-man alliance raids and Raid Finder are not the same thing. They are nowhere near the same amount of difficulty. Alliances in 14 have so much more going on in them, way compared to fucking World of Warcraft. But yeah, they're nowhere near the same difficulty range. They very much are much more involved, and you have to know some basic shit to get through them. But at least like there was a process that got you there, right? And again, in World of Warcraft, there's none of that. You just kind of leveled very quickly, got here, and was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is up? And there's nothing to determine a new player or a sprout, right? Like, there's no way for you to be able to tell this World of Warcraft player has no fucking clue what is going on because they've never seen these mechanics before or any of this stuff. Meanwhile, in 14, you see a sprout and you're like, okay, I might need to explain this to them. Or, okay, hey, it's its first time, they might fuck up here too, right? And yeah, it leads to toxicity and all that stuff. But yeah, it is crazy just leveling through this again. and seeing how just not designed it is. It is very much it is very much how they explained it. It is smashing everything together to make it as easy as possible to hit max level, and really level 1 is level 50. You might as well say that level 50 is level 1 and this is where the game starts, because everything else beforehand you don't really learn anything. You just kind of did quests, killed some very easy mobs, and moved on. You understand the basic structure of questing, and that's about it. And meanwhile in 14 it was this long journey. And I'm not saying that long journey is like 100% great. There's some problems with it and how long it takes. But man, it's fucking there, and you're gonna learn some shit on the way. And yeah, it's very two different design philosophies. And I definitely have come to learn to love the latter a lot more. And that's really where I stand on it. Again, not having much fun just going through this in WoW, because I am very much just kind of going through it. Maybe once Shadowlands comes out, I'll have a overall more positive experience. But I just, again, playing through this game, I feel nothing. No excitement in the new abilities I'm getting or talents. I feel just incomplete as I am playing it, and that's not because I'm low level either. It just does not feel good. It does not feel good leveling and doing these dungeons that are designed for way higher level characters and having barely parts of your toolkit and shit like that, man. It's so fucking weird. But yeah, that's my ramble for this week. If you have any, if you disagree, or if you rather, like WoW's leveling system, or maybe you had experiences playing both, or you're coming back like you are now, and maybe your class feels fine, right? And you're having a good time. Yeah, definitely let me know below. Definitely, this might just be me just not having a great time because I'm playing Enhancement Shaman. But yeah, other than that, my name is Adrian. This is my channel, Random Drop. I will see you next Sunday, hopefully. Bye bye.